Anthropic just did something that nobody in the AI industry saw coming. And I do not mean they released a minor update or a small improvement to an existing model. I mean they dropped something that is fundamentally different from anything Claude has been before. The new Claude that just launched is not just smarter, it is not just faster, it is not just cheaper to run. It is a genuinely different kind of AI system that changes what you can actually do with it in your daily life, your work, your business, and your creative projects. And the reactions from people who have already started using it have been extraordinary. Developers are calling it the biggest leap they have seen in a single model release. Writers are saying it understands context and nuance in ways that previous versions simply could not match. Business users are saying it has cut hours out of their workflows in ways they were not expecting. So today, we are going to break down exactly what is new, exactly what changed, exactly what you can do with this version that you could not do before, and most importantly, how you can start using it right now to get real results. Because there is a lot of noise and hype around every AI release these days, and I want to cut through all of that and give you the actual substance. So let us get into it. The first thing to understand is what Anthropic has been building toward with Claude from the very beginning. Anthropic was founded by former members of OpenAI who had a very specific philosophy about how AI should be built. Their core belief was that making AI genuinely safe and making AI genuinely capable are not opposing goals. They are the same goal. The argument was that an AI system that is unreliable, that hallucinates facts, that can be easily manipulated into doing harmful things, that gives you confidently wrong information, is not actually a capable AI system, no matter how impressive it sounds in a demo. Real capability means real reliability. And that philosophy has shaped every version of Claude that Anthropic has released. But with this latest release, that philosophy has been pushed further than ever before. The result is a model that behaves differently from its competitors in ways that you notice immediately when you start using it. The second major thing that changed is the reasoning capability. And I want to be specific here because reasoning is one of those words that gets thrown around constantly in AI coverage, without anyone actually explaining what it means in practice. When we say the new Claude has improved reasoning, we mean it can work through problems step by step in a way that mirrors how a genuinely thoughtful person thinks through a difficult question. It does not just pattern match to the most common answer it has seen in training data. It actually considers multiple angles, identifies potential contradictions, weighs competing factors, and arrives at conclusions that hold up when you push K on them. This matters enormously for any task that involves real complexity: legal analysis, financial planning, medical research, strategic business decisions, code debugging, scientific literature review. These are all areas where the new reasoning capability makes a dramatic practical difference compared to previous versions. The third change is context handling. And this is technical, but I promise it is worth understanding because it directly affects what you can do with Claude every single day. Context window refers to how much information Claude can hold in its working memory at one time during a conversation. Previous versions of Claude were already strong on this compared to competitors. The new version takes it significantly further. What this means practically is that you can hand Claude an entire research report and ask it questions about specific sections. You can paste in a full code base and ask it to find bugs or suggest architectural improvements. You can share an entire book manuscript and ask for detailed structural feedback. You can give it months of business data and ask for trend analysis. The limitation of having to break everything into small chunks and feed it piece by piece, which frustrated so many users of earlier AI models, is dramatically reduced with this release. The fourth area of improvement is what Anthropic calls instruction following. This sounds simple, but it is one of the most practically important things they have worked on. Instruction following means that when you tell Claude to do something in a specific way, it actually does it that specific way consistently. If you say, write this in bullet points with no more than 10 words per bullet, it does that. If you say respond only in formal academic language, it does that for the entire conversation without drifting back to casual phrasing after a few exchanges. If you say always provide 3 options rather than 1 recommendation, it does that every single time. For anyone who uses AI tools professionally, the inconsistency of earlier models on this dimension was a constant source of frustration. You would set up a prompt carefully, get great output on the first response, and then watch the model gradually drift away from your instructions over the course of a long conversation. The new Claude holds your instructions much more reliably across extended interactions. The fifth improvement is coding capability, and this one is going to be particularly significant for developers and technical teams. Claude has always been strong at coding relative to many competitors, but the new version represents a meaningful step change. It can write longer, more complex, and functions without losing coherence partway through. It catches its own logical errors more consistently before they make it into the final output. It can work with a much wider range of programming languages and frameworks with genuine depth rather than surface-level familiarity. And it has improved dramatically at the specific task of debugging, which means taking broken code, understanding why it is broken, and producing a fix that actually works rather than just shuffling the code around in ways that look plausible but introduce new problems. The sixth thing that changed is how Claude handles uncertainty. This might sound like a soft improvement, but it is actually one of the most important things Anthropic has done differently from the beginning, and the new version handles it better than ever. When Claude does not know something, or when it is not confident in an answer, it says so clearly and specifically. It tells you what it does not know, rather than filling the gap with plausible-sounding fabrication. It tells you when a question falls outside its training data, or when you should verify something with a primary source. This calibrated honesty about uncertainty is genuinely rare in AI systems, and it makes Claude dramatically more useful for serious work where getting a wrong answer confidently stated is worse than getting no answer at all. The seventh major area is creative writing and content generation. Claude has always had strong creative capabilities, but the new version demonstrates a noticeably higher level of craft. The writing is less generic. It avoids the patterns that make AI-generated content feel flat and formulaic. It takes more creative risks when given latitude to do so. It has a stronger sense of voice and tone modulation, meaning it can shift convincingly between a serious analytical piece and a playful conversational one without the output, feeling like it came from two different systems. For content creators, marketers, authors, and anyone who uses AI to support creative work, this is a genuinely meaningful upgrade in practical output quality. The eighth improvement is in summarization and analysis. The ability to take a large body of information and extract the most important elements, identify the key themes, highlight the critical data points, and present them in a form that is actually useful, rather than just comprehensive, has improved substantially. This matters enormously for knowledge workers who are constantly dealing with information overload. Being able to hand Claude a pile of research and get back a genuinely insightful synthesis, rather than a mechanical list of bullet points, is the kind of capability that changes how people work on a daily basis. The ninth area is multilingual capability. Claude's ability to work fluently across multiple languages has expanded meaningfully. This is not just about translation. It is about the ability to reason, analyze, and create in languages other than English with the same depth and nuance that English speakers have always experienced. For international businesses, for researchers working with non-English sources, for educators in multilingual environments, this is a significant practical improvement that opens up use cases that were previously limited. The 10th thing worth highlighting is safety and reliability. Anthropic has always been more focused on this dimension than most of its competitors, and the new Claude reflects years of research into how to make AI systems that are genuinely trustworthy rather than just impressive in demos. The model is better at recognizing when a request might cause harm, better at declining those requests in ways that are clear and non-preachy, and better at finding genuinely helpful alternatives when a direct response to a request is not appropriate. At the same time, it is less likely to refuse things unnecessarily. Earlier versions of Claude were sometimes overcautious in ways that frustrated users who had completely legitimate requests. The new version has been calibrated much more carefully to be appropriately cautious without being unhelpfully restrictive. The 11th thing is the speed and efficiency of the model. Anthropic has done significant work on making Claude faster to respond without sacrificing output quality. For anyone using Claude through the API to build applications, this matters enormously for user experience. For individual users in the chat interface, it means less waiting and more time, actually doing things with the output. The efficiency improvements also affect the cost of running Claude at scale, which has implications for businesses building products on top of Claude's API, and for Anthropic's ability to offer more generous usage limits to users at various pricing tiers. The 12th, and perhaps most significant thing about this release, is what it signals about where Anthropic is heading. Every version of Claude has been a step in a deliberate direction. Better reasoning, better reliability, better instruction following, better calibration about uncertainty, better creative quality. The new release takes meaningful steps forward on all of these dimensions simultaneously. And if you look at the trajectory, the direction is clearly toward AI systems that function as genuinely reliable thinking partners for serious work rather than impressive toys that you have to handle carefully to avoid getting bad outputs. The vision Anthropic has articulated from its founding, that safety and capability are the same goal, is starting to be visible in the actual experience of using the product. That is not a small thing. That is the whole ballgame. The internet goes wild. And then real users start actually using the product and discover that the gap between the demo and daily reality is enormous. The impressive benchmark performance does not translate into actually getting things done better. The flashy capabilities are real, but narrow. The announcement turned out to matter a lot in practice. This cycle has repeated so many times that a lot of intelligent people have developed a healthy and entirely justified skepticism toward any AI release announcement, including this one. So let me tell you specifically why this release is different and how you can verify that for yourself rather than just taking my word for it. The test is simple. Take something you actually need to do, not a test question with a known right answer, not a demo prompt designed to show off capabilities. Take a real piece of work from your actual life or job, something that requires sustained thinking, attention to specific details, an output that has to meet a real standard to be useful. Give it to the new Claude and look at what comes back. The difference for most people doing genuinely complex tasks is immediately apparent. The output is more coherent over longer stretches. The reasoning holds together better when you ask follow-up questions. The instruction following means you spend less time correcting and reformatting and more time actually using what the model produced. This is the test that matters, and it is one you can run yourself in the next 15 minutes at no cost using the free tier at Claude.ai. One more thing worth mentioning is the ecosystem building around Claude, because the model itself is only part of the story. Anthropic has been building out the infrastructure, tools, integrations, and developer resources that make it possible to use Claude in a much wider range of contexts than just the main chat interface. Claude is now accessible through a command line tool called Claude Code, designed specifically for software development workflows. There are integrations with productivity tools that millions of people use every day. There's a growing library of documentation and examples for developers building applications on top of Claude. The ecosystem is maturing rapidly, and that means the ways you can put Claude to work are expanding continuously, not just when Anthropic releases a new model. Building a product, the Claude API is available through Anthropic's developer platform at anthropic.com. The most capable version of the new model is available there along with documentation, pricing information, and everything you need to start building. If you have been following AI development and you have been using other tools, this is absolutely the moment to try Claude if you have not already. The gap between what Claude can do and what people expect from AI tools based on older experiences has never been wider. Give it a real task, something you actually need done, something complex enough that you would notice the difference between a mediocre result and an excellent one. And see what happens. Hit the subscribe button below because we are covering every major AI development as it happens, and you do not want to miss what is coming next in this space.